It's been 42 years of the Nissan Sentra. 42, which is a really long time for any model. And yet, that is what I'm driving today on screen. So why? Why are we bothering to review it? Two reasons. One, it's refreshed for 2024. That makes it worthwhile. We want to talk about what's different. More importantly, perhaps, is the fact that this is one of the most affordable vehicles on the market. Even today, in 2024, it's still closer to $20,000 than to $25,000. So that makes it a great option for a lot of people. Even this top trim press car with all the bells and whistles comes in under $30,000. And they've made it more affordable to own by making it more fuel efficient for 2024. So we want to see, what is it like to live with? That's really what we're here for, to give you a sense of what it might be like to live with a car. So please subscribe to this channel and let's check out how it looks. So this is just a refresh. It's not a new generation, but it's not exactly the same old Sentra either. One really big change up front is that it just looks a lot wider, and one really big reason for that is this V-motion grille of Nissan's. They've reinterpreted it. They've taken this angle and really widened it to just make the entire thing appear more broad. The other big change here is these faux air intakes. These appear a lot more vertical now, and that really sets the edges visually of the vehicle, again, for an impression of width. We have the available black roof on our test car, as you can see. That's a top trim exclusive. It's only a $250 option, and I personally think it's very much worth it, partly because it really contributes to that long, low look. And this is a pretty nice silhouette, and it really helps to emphasize that. Now, also because we have the top trim, we have the 18-inch wheels. 16s are standard, and they're steel on the base trim, but they are alloy on the middle trim. The rear end is reworked too, just slightly, nothing too terribly different. Just a few things jumping out at me here. One, the badge with the white lettering and the white emphasis around the circle. That's not super new, but I think it's very fresh looking, and it definitely makes it look modern. And then this black piece along here, that to me gives us just a little bit of a hint that yes, this is the same automaker who brings us the Z. Let me know if you also see that resemblance there. Overall, I actually think the Sentra is pretty good looking. It's not boring, it's also not wacky. It's walking a very fine line, and I think it's walking it well. Maybe better than anybody else in the class. Now, let's see how it does inside. The interior again reflects that this is still the same generation. It's not really changed much, which is not a critique. It's pretty nice. For example, I really like these round air vents. They remind me of what we had in my 2009 Mini Cooper S, a car that I loved. That is a very fashion-forward vehicle, I think would be a fair way to put it. And so to me, seeing this in the Sentra is a really nice design touch that says they've paid attention to styling, even though this is fundamentally an economy car. Another good example is the steering wheel. It's got the flat bottom, which is definitely becoming a modern-day Nissan thing. I really like that it's got kind of a wider diameter and a thinner rim. It feels sort of ergonomic and nice to hold. Heated front seats come standard on this top trim, but we also have the premium package, which is why we've upgraded from cloth seating surfaces to this leatherette. And you know, it's obviously not real leather, but that's okay. It looks nice, it feels nice, the contrast stitching, this little piece of contrast trim here. It's all pretty nice and soft touch. That's generally how I feel about the materials in this car. The cover on the center console, for example, inside the door card, got a good amount of squish there. So again, it's obviously not a super expensive leather, and that's okay. It still feels like they've paid attention to it, which I really appreciate. Now, speaking of the seats, these are the zero gravity seats. They're awfully firm, and I've gotten that comment from passengers too. So I wouldn't say they're the most comfortable in the world. Definitely something to think about if you're considering this vehicle. Along with that premium package, we get the heated steering wheel, and we get this little moonroof. Headroom is fine in the front row. It's more than we get in the Kia Forte or the Mazda 3, and just a little bit less than what you see in the Honda Civic or the Hyundai Elantra. And this has more front row legroom than any of those four. Back here though, we've got less headroom and less legroom than any of the rivals that I've mentioned so far. Probably looks like plenty, but that's because I'm 5'3", and this is behind my driving position, so I've got enough space. Now, in terms of trunk space, we have 14.3 cubic feet. That's more than the Mazda 3 and a little bit more than the Hyundai Elantra. It's less than the Kia Forte and the Honda Civic. There's just one engine option for the 2024 Nissan Sentra. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder that makes 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. So we don't have an analog to the Civic Si or the Jetta GLI in this lineup. Now the Sentra is front-wheel drive only, and as has been true of this entire generation, the 2024 comes with a CVT, but it is re-engineered for smoother operation and better fuel efficiency for this new model year. So let's start with fuel economy because that's easy to talk about. That's just numbers, right? With the SR trim's bigger wheels, it's rated for 30 miles per gallon city, 38 highway, and 33 combined. Trims with smaller wheels are supposed to achieve 40 highway and 34 combined. I've actually been averaging 35.7 miles per gallon. Granted, I spent a fair amount of time on the highway for the 4th of July, but that is with the bigger wheels on this top trim. So it's nice to see you can do better than expected. So that's fuel economy. Now we want to talk about driving dynamics with this re-engineered CVT, which is of course a little bit more subjective, but also one of the big benefits of watching a review like this. So with the CVT, I do think it's smoother. It's also really interesting in that it's remarkably like a real transmission in some situations. For example, when you're accelerating onto the highway, it'll do sort of a fake gear shift at a certain point, and it'll actually kind of buck and hold you back the way that a traditional automatic transmission would. Just interesting, you know, it's not ideal. It's one of those things that CVTs could solve for, so it's kind of funny to run into. But as is the case with many modern vehicles, I have found that putting it into eco mode kind of smooths out your acceleration a little bit. Braking, pretty linear, pretty consistent, pretty much what I would expect. Steering is interesting. It's light, but it's not overly sensitive. I don't feel like I'm having to make lots and lots of little corrections on the highway, so that's great. I appreciate that. And then the suspension is really nice. It's walking, again, a very fine line between sporty, firm, and sloshy, comfortable, and I think it's doing a good job. SV and SR trims get this 8-inch touchscreen, so really just 1 inch bigger than the base trim, and all 2024 Sentras get wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So nothing fancy, but it is checking that connectivity box. And that's really kind of been the theme of my experience with the tech in this vehicle. It's not flashy, but it's doing what I need to have done. For example, this screen. This is pretty boring looking. There's no flashy graphics, not a lot of color, not a lot of attention paid to making it look cool, but that's okay. I'm mostly in Apple CarPlay anyway. I think anybody who's getting into this vehicle from an older one isn't going to have a problem with it. And frankly, you know, we talked about making sacrifices for the price point. This is one that I am happy to make. I'd much rather have a good driving experience and then just use CarPlay and not care too much that I'm not blown out of the water by the graphics on the screen. I feel fine about that. There are also a lot of areas where we're not sacrificing. For example, with the premium package, we get an 8-speaker Bose audio system, which might not be what you were expecting for a vehicle in this class. That's pretty cool. And with this trim and the premium package, we get a Wi-Fi hotspot, so that's a super useful feature. We also have one USB-C and one USB-A port up here. They're both data transmitting. If you're worried about conflict, you can always have your passenger plug into the USB-A that's at the back of the center console here. The NHTSA gave the 2024 Nissan Sentra a 5-star overall rating, which is great. The IIHS was a little bit less positive. They gave it a poor for headlights and a marginal score in a few other areas, including driver head protection in the updated side impact test. But in terms of equipment, the Nissan Safety Shield 360 suite of features is standard, so that means that every 2024 Sentra is going to get forward collision warning, front and rear automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, lane departure warning, and automatic high beams. Now, adaptive cruise control is not standard, although it is on the Civic and the Corolla, but both of the two higher trims do get it, and adding that premium package will also get you a 360-degree camera. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this review, the 2024 Nissan Sentra starts under $25,000. Well under $25,000, in fact, and that does make it pretty rare in today's market, if not in its class. Base MSRP is $22,320, including destination, so there are competitors that are a lot more expensive. There are also some that are more affordable. Now, ours, as tested today, comes to $27,825, again, including destination. That gets you a lot of goodies. We've got a Bose audio system, Wi-Fi hotspot, heated seats and steering wheel, adaptive cruise control, and fuel economy of 30 miles per gallon combined, although again, I've been doing better than that, so pretty affordable to run. It's also not bad looking, which is important to a lot of people, myself included. I think that's a really fair thing to be concerned about when you're shopping for a car. And Nissan backs this package with 3 years or 36,000 miles of basic coverage and 5 years or 50,000 miles of powertrain coverage. Now, if of course you are interested in all-wheel drive or a hybrid powertrain, considering exploring those options, you will have to look at a different lineup, bearing in mind, of course, that pretty much every automaker charges extra for those kinds of technologies. And if you are shopping at a time when the 2024 Nissan Sentra is a used car, well, I stand by everything I've said today in terms of facts and opinions about the experience of living with it. I can't really comment on the pricing that you're going to be facing, but I can assure you that CarGurus.com is here for you. We've got up-to-the-minute, real-time, accurate data on pricing trends, so head over there for all the info you need, but please subscribe to this channel before you go.